exports to Twitch both will not be super long and have a weird gap in the middle. Makes it easy to cut that out. Awesome. So, um, so I just finished sort of shoehorning this indent into a separate function, and it became apparent that it's not really a super independent concept yet. But I think it can get there, because it's not terrible either. Like, I expected it to need this, 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 and this. Those are all reasonable. If I can boil the other things down somewhat, we'll be in a really good spot. So let's see about this line start, next line start. Do I actually need to pass that in? So I bet I could deduce that actually quite easily from the token, right? This line. So if the previous token started before this line. Now question, who compares to next line start? Why would T start ever be equal to next line start in this scenario? Because if I'm wrong, tell me, but this happens because we're greater than or equal to next line start, and then we go ahead and okay, so the reason that this can happen is because here, when we're coming up with this indent, we're on a line. The token we're on, yeah, the token that we're on is not guaranteed to be on the next line, right? So it could be that there are several blank lines, and so the next line position is actually less than the current token, right? So that there suggests that what this line start and next line start do can't just be deduced from the token, but they absolutely could be deduced from me passing in a line index. What advantage do we get from not doing that? Line index is just looks it up straight in from an array. So it's quick. Let's see. So when this happens, why are we doing all of this? Does this ever actually happen? So T star is less than the next line. Wait a minute. Did I get that backwards? I was thinking of the case where... Okay, how can that happen? How can the token be less than the next line? The current token. So let's go look at that case, actually. The current token was greater than or equal to next line start. So then we go to the next line after this one, and we go ahead and assume that this line is now the line we were waiting to get to. Right. So what this is asking is almost impossible, I think. What does this logic here even do? It says that this is where we do T flag. Yeah. This is where we set 0 to the preprocessor, so this must occur. Okay, I see. So, yeah, this can happen. because if I don't think of the case with a lot of spaces, what can happen is I go to the next line, or I go to the next token, and I go, oh, this next token puts me on the next line, so then it advances the next line thing way beyond that token. So this basically means this token is on this line, and we need to we need to treat this token as something that affects the current line potentially. So if the first thing on this line, for instance, is a preprocessor directive, this needs to happen, and so on. So this is all figuring out based on the first token of a line and the previous token before that token, what to do, or it's potentially saying, hey, it may be the case that that there's nothing on this line. Right, so, okay, so here we say default this indent equals the current indent. Now, if we happen to be the first token on the line we care about, yeah, okay, I see what that does. Then we need to affect that in other ways. If there's no token on that line, you actually just assume, leave it there, and then you go, if the token is on this line, then what type of token is it? Oh, it's a preprocessor. Do this. Oh, it's a bracket. We need to, decrease this by 1 if it's a bracket or a brace. If it's a parenthesis, I would just want it to match where it already was. Going to be, so that won't need to come back. Brace close, brace open does nothing, but why would I have brace open does nothing there? What could go wrong if I just caught it here instead? I feel like that must be old code, because then what happens is we go, oh, okay, so this is if the current token type is a brace open, we don't apply this rule here. That's what that means. What is this rule saying? Check and see if we have non-zero indent. Look at the previous token. If it's preprocessor body or preprocessor directive, then, or it's not one of those things, then if it's an, okay, so this is for checking to see if we're in the middle of a statement. Okay, that makes sense. So we don't apply that rule to any case where a bracket just opened, or a bracket just closed, or a brace just closed, as it turns out. Fair enough. And then when we do apply that rule, it's all based on if our indent is greater than 0, which means that we don't have this at the, yeah, and the reason for that is otherwise, if I do this in here, internal foo would get indented, right? So that would happen everywhere. So we say, look, if we're on the outside area, we don't care about this rule. Okay. If prev token dot flags and t flag pp body, if prev token flag, or if it's a, so we don't care about this. If we're neither a preprocessor body or a preprocessor directive, we go ahead and look at the previous token type. And if the previous token type is any of these, then we're not in the middle of a statement, we assume. The comment one is false, but it would be kind of weird. I guess it's totally possible, though. I think the comma one is there so that it doesn't mess with the indentations for like lists and uh, uh, and in the old system, it didn't mess with the indentation for function calls, but that won't matter anymore. Okay, because we're changing the parenthesis thing anyway. But yeah, okay, so that all makes sense. So we definitely need the previous token. We definitely need to know which line we're getting a this indent for, and which token we are looking at. Now, how do those relate? Well, if the token that we're currently looking at isn't even on the line, then we don't do anything. We just use the current indent. And also, if the previous token was a comment and it extends through to this line, okay, I see. Then we have to look at the previous indent mark and all that stuff. Now, how this relates to the parenthesis matching thing is I want to be able to do right here line start char position. Alright, I need to do a thing where I get the hard start result. Buffer find hard start. Buffer starting from the start of the line, and I forget what the third parameter is on this. Oh, using tab width, right? So give me a hard start there, and I care about the indent position, and then I need to know this indent. You broken old system. So this indent is going to come from computing this indent here. So that would be, we pass it the indent state, the current token, the previous token. We don't have these yet, so this where I'm just going to put some nonsense for now. Not sure if I want to do those that directly or not. And then tab width. Right? So you gotta figure out what to fill that stuff in with. But then once you've got all of that, what you can do is this here is just the char position minus the hard start dot or indent position plus this indent. And the reason that I think that works is this here is the actual position of this character on the line. Oh wait, no. I don't want I just want the char position. I subtract out all of the white space at the beginning of the line, and then I add in the amount of white space that the indent system would have added to this line. Right? Now the only problem is we aren't tracking indent marks all the way through. So what I actually want here is instead of passing indent marks in, what I could do is just say yeah, so we'll just make this one move here, and to trick the system I'll do it this way. This indent equals previous indent. Right? That's what that's actually trying to compute after all. So that right there is just previous indent. And then to compute the previous indent, and that will be blah 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 blah. We'll figure out what to do for you later. But up here, where is this indent? There it is. So the previous indent is just something we can do right here. Previous indent. equals, and we'll do it the same way we were doing it in there, but just not in there now. So if line I is less than, or is greater than line start, then previous indent is stored right in here in the indent marks, line I minus 1. Else we can just say that the previous indent by default is always 0. And then instead of all that, we just have previous indent, right? Now, what about these guys? Do we really need to keep track of them this much? So this line start gets used there, and that's it. And next line start, we update it, and we do all this hard work to keep track of when to do that. So we do want to keep that around as a variable, because we have to compare it there all the time. It wouldn't hurt super much to pass in the line I that we care about. Now would it? No, I don't think so. So that means instead of these, we'll just pass in line I, which tells it which line we are thinking about. And then we can in here do this line start and next line start. Or never. Never below this. That's right. And to get those is just a matter of buffer line starts line I if, and then it's just like this code over here. Line I plus 1 is less than the number of lines. And really what I want to do is someday go back through and write all the code that I did the wrong way and just say that you always have like a last line and then the last token that says end, sort of terminator, which would contain things like the buffer size directly. Okay, so if line I plus 1 is less than the line count, then we go ahead and set next line start this way. Otherwise, we just grab the buffer's whole size. Now, for all that to work, we do have to begin passing in the buffer, but that's fine. I don't mind passing that, and that makes sense. So now we've boiled this down to you pass in the buffer that you're indenting on, the indent state, the current token and the previous token, and the line which you are trying to get this indent value for, and previous indent, and that would just be your best guess at what the previous thing is supposed to be indented at, and then a tab width, which is, you know, pass through. So the only thing I'm not sure about now is down here where we need this indent, we got these question marks. Is T and prev T actually correct? I feel like what we actually want to do here is just say that I want to do this all kind of differently. Actually, now that I'm starting to really look at it, maybe this indent should be all the way up here. Or we could do it this way, right? So boom, and then in the indent parse state, we'll have a previous line indent variable, which just means wherever you are in the middle of the indent parsing, whatever previous line you're at, what was the line indent that you actually came up with for that line. And then this here needn't be computed at all. We'll just grab it out of the... Actually, we don't even need to do that. We'll just pass that in, and it'll come out the other end. So previous indent equals indent dot previous line indent. Okay, so that's coming through the indent state now. So each time through, when we do that, then indent dot this line no, previous line indent equals this indent. Okay, so now I'm each step of the way through doing all that logic. This will be good. This is going to be really good. So the only thing I have to change really is I used to say that I would only generate this information on the lines we actually wanted to indent. But what I really meant to say was I only want to output it on those lines. I still want to do this logic every line, because I want to know how they all indent so that I can get these, if these parenthesis things to line up correctly. So we'll do this if line is greater than line start, right? Or equal to, right? If line I is there, and then line I will actually not start at line start, and next line start, and all those will actually all the way through keep working, not just on the first real line, which is the way it worked before, which makes it a little more stable feeling in my head. So I'm sick of these comments. As I said at the beginning, they were eventually going away, and now that I've got it all sort of in my head, I'm starting to get sick of seeing all the green. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we found a safe place to start. Line right there, right? So what we really want to do is line I will be started here, and that will just equal 0. We don't care. And instead of setting it out there, we're just saying line I will be whatever line we need to start at based on the token that we're on, right? The other thing we could do since I feel like that kind of separates this from what it's related to in a kind of nasty way, I'd rather just keep that code down there and just do a lookup again. So we'll just do the binary search, pay the extra price for now, keep the code local more to what's related to it. Yeah, and in the future it can be like, we'll find tricky ways to optimize this if it's slow, but I feel like that'll keep it cleaner. I won't lose track of why line I is way up here. Yes. Of course, that up there could just be a thing that is expected to output that, and it would become a function of its own, which is a nice idea. Like, find a safe start position function which returns the token and the line I. I feel like I don't want to do that yet, but if the system looks like it works, then I'll do that, right? This can maybe be its own function now. so that we can do the decals in the order we want and still get and avoid the extra binary search. There we go. Okay, so now we've got line I, blah 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 blah. Now down here we've still got these question marks, right? Or no, I got rid of those because now this indent down here isn't actually what we need at all. This indent is just the previous line indent. So really, previous line indent is always the current line indent, but it's the previous line indent that occurred, right? So for most of a line, it's actually the current line's indent. But up here, it is properly, like when we pass it into compute this indent, it's properly used as the previous indent. Let's see if that is at all good at all. It might be really bad. Compute this indent. You need the line I tab with T. You need the buffer now. This line start. Don't need that. Okay, now since this is called in one place, we can probably go back to directly passing in next line start and this line start. There we go. Man, that's a slow compile. Let's see if it works. Probably not. Probably broke it all. Probably can't ever make it work again. Just gonna have to give up. Or not. Just spend for the rest of my life not being able to do this. That's what'll happen next. Bloop. Alright. Got a bug. In the undo children push. That's weird, huh? String size is negative. So it's trying to compute a white space edit. String size is negative. String size got passed into this. String size, yeah, so the make batch spit out a negative string size. I wonder if that's because it just created like a gigantic amount of spaces and looped over. Let's go ahead and put a breakpoint there and say we want to look at this indent stuff that we get out. The indent marks. Okay. So, don't care about that so much. Indent marks. How many of them do we have? I don't know. Line start, line end 53. So, indent marks. I want to see all 53 of them. Okay, so some of these are totally bogus. Totally bogus. Okay, so let's go in there and see. Test auto tab. Doot, 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 doot. Oh, I had a breakpoint in there. Oh well. So comes through here. Current indent. Okay, so that's a fine starting point. And we're just going to watch and see that all of these get assigned good, useful, this indent values. 0. Let's just T-start is greater. Right, so that first line contains a bunch of preprocessor nonsense, so we're going to now read a bunch of tokens that won't matter too much. And those should only apply if they're not preprocessor as well. Okay. Okay, so we get that this indent is 0 again. Boom, we come up again. Oh, we're still not at the line we need to be at, so another 0 pops out. Yep. And there we go. Now we're far enough ahead. Here's another line. Pops out another 0. Another line pops out another 0, and there we go. Now this token, this brace open, finally applies. We move around. That computed a 4. Four. Now, by the way, what does the indent state look like right now? It's all 0s. Okay. This indent 8. Okay, let's just keep popping to here. 4, 8, 4. What does the indent state look like? Okay, so we have one level of parent nesting, and that's where the negatives crept in. Interesting. So what I want to see is, let's start again. I want a breakpoint right here where we're computing this. It looks like my trying to set the anchor point didn't work. Okay, don't care about you so much. There we go. So here's the line start. There's the actual... Wait, there's the line. There's the start of the line. 127. There's the character position of this character. Right, 1. Then, boom, hard start char position. Oh, that's right. It's char. I gotta do char position. And then I gotta subtract from that the line start again. Okay, I see. 2, 4, 7, 4. So the annoying thing is, the way that find hard position thing works, find hard start, it returns the char position, which counts how many characters in the first hard character is, but it's not in terms of the beginning of the line, it's relative to the beginning of the file. But the indent can't be measured that way, so the indent position, which takes into account the fact that tabs are not worth 1 but worth 4 when you're counting how far in they go, that measures from the beginning of the line. And sometimes I want to measure from the beginning of the file in other places of the code, so I'm using the one that I ended up calling char position earlier tonight, but that means sometimes I have to correct it, and that maybe means I want like a line position variable that's built in, but then the thing is I don't think I have a way of doing that that's reasonable. I mean, in there I could compute that, but whatever. Here's what we're going to do. Line position equals hard start dot char position minus the start of the line, right? I could do this work inside there and store it there, but I don't want to do more work in there than I have to, and I'm already doing a lot of work in there. But that will help. Line position. Okay, so we come through here, and boom. So now we're at char position 1 because it's 1 and the previous line indent was 8. So it's saying, look, add in the 8, subtract 0 because there's no white space there currently, and add in 1 because that's how far in this parenthesis is in the line. Okay? And so on. So we need to add one more, because that's lining it up with the parenthesis. We actually want to line it up one after the parenthesis, actually. But yeah, that looks like it's going to work. Alright, so we want to do all of that plus 1. There we go. Let's take a look at this. This is exciting. This is cool. Jupe. That's cool. That's cool. Boop. Doop, doop. Doop, 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 doop. Now I kind of would like those parentheses. I'm gonna leave that for now. I don't care, and it's kind of nasty to fix that. I was thinking about that earlier, but now that the plus 1 is in there, it doesn't do what I was expecting it to do. But other than that, everything is awesome. Like this ZZZ lines up here, and the ABC all line up there. So cool. And if I shift tab, like, say I undo everything, I wonder if shift tab puts that at exactly the right spot. Yeah, it did. The only thing that is maybe not great is maybe you expect that to align with this parenthesis, but it's actually anchoring all the way to this brace, then parsing all the way forward to figure out where to put that. But I don't really care. I think that's what I wanted to do, because I don't want to have to start implementing like extra little rules like, oh, if seek back to a parenthesis, pretend that's right even though it might be totally wrong, right? Like pretend that line is correct if blah 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 or whatever, and then just parse from there. It seems like, well, maybe you could, well, okay, here's how we can try that. It's not too hard to try it and see how it looks. What is this doing here? Go away. I said no more. Yeah, we can leave that. That's to do. I don't know, I feel like that kind of thing maybe needs to stay actually for other reasons. Yes. Right, so this one I want to keep, actually. Okay. So up here, when we're first picking where to start, before we even do the loop to make sure that the thing is safe, we're only going until we find a brace. I'm going to just add to this CVP token parenthesis open. I don't see any reason why that should break anything. Oh shoot, is this still tabbed? Ah, crap. Anyways, what I'm saying is I don't see any reason why adding that should break anything, because the starting point is actually guaranteed now, basically, that even if you pick a bad starting point, all that's going to happen is still going to correctly anchor to a valid sort of safe starting point, right? It doesn't pick a starting point that's like, oh, if I look at the code, this is just totally bogus, I can't trust this line. It always picks a line that it can trust. So the only thing that could happen is that it's a little more likely to not go back as far, and therefore, you know, follow along with a line that is nearer by, which is kind of what you want it to do, right? You want it to pick the nearest by line, so long as that line represents a sort of complete statement. And I believe that we're, now going to be able to see it do, boom, that. So if you really wanted that W not to go up, now it won't. But of course if I do that, now they'll all line up like that. I wonder why that won't go up, but this one will. Oh, it's because it's binding to this parenthesis and going off that, but that's going up to that brace and going off of that. And this, since it's a 0, it's not indented at all, is following the no extra space just because of an incomplete statement rule. But yeah, there we go. Whoops, wrong key. That was the Windows key thing. But here we go. Doop. 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 Awesome. So, I think that is it for today, folks. We've got a new indent rule for 4coder. So now the question is, how long are you guys willing to wait before this thing comes out? Right? I could release this just like first thing tomorrow morning, Monday, new 4coder, better indent rules, have at it. But my original plan was to get I got a full board of other cleanup things that I could also do, but it could take me, all week to get through all sorts of other cool cleanup things I want to do to improve the API, track down that bug we saw with the crashing earlier, so just something for y'all to think about. But if I don't hear from you within, a few hours, it's going to be too late for me to decide to put it out tomorrow. And I'll start making changes, and then it won't be stable or something. Okay. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.